The last topic that we study in this chapter is regarding the outcomes of the planning processes and the planning initiatives जो हम इतनी देर तक देखते हैं। हमने देखा कि कैसे इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद हमारे कंट्री ने डिसाइड किया कि हाँ हम एक प्लानिंग के मेथोडोलॉजी से चलेंगे। हम पहले अपने पॉलिसीज को प्लान आउट करेंगे और फिर हर 5 साल में हम उन प्लान्स को एक एक करके इम्प्लीमेंट करते रहेंगे। So now what we're going to discuss next and the last topic in our chapter is how the planning process actually turned out when it came to implementation, how it affected the economy, how it benefited certain people, certain classes of people, and how it did not. So the first outcome of the planning process that we have is the foundation, and by foundation we mean that उस वक्त हमारी कंट्री जब इंडिपेंडेंट हुई थी, we just had recently gained independence, right? तो अब हमें अपने कंट्री में we needed to do something that would have a long term impact, right? That would in a way help to benefit future generations for years to come. So that is what we mean by foundation. And looking back, we can actually say that the the planning process actually helped with laying the basis or the foundation for the economy in the future. Let's see how it happened. The first thing is the largest development projects were undertaken during this period. Like some of the largest development projects that we have till date, these were undertaken during this process, during the phase of the initial years of the planning process. So for examples, we have the Bhakra Nangal Dam, the Hirakud Dam. These mega development projects, these were at that time they were implemented. These were undertaken back then when the planning initiatives had just started, and when we were actually just figuring out if the planning would actually work or not during the first few years of the 5-year plans. So, and just to say that these mega dam projects were actually meant for irrigation and for power generation. And irrigation, like we talked about, it helped improve agriculture a lot. So, and these projects had multi-utility functions. They also helped in power generation through hydroelectricity, and they helped helped with irrigation, which in turn helped the agrarian sector to develop and to prosper. The second thing is heavy industrial setup in public sector. Okay, so heavy industries were, a lot of heavy industries were set up during this period, which happened within the public sector. तो अब पब्लिक सेक्टर में बहुत by heavy industries what we mean is industries that actually take a lot of space, a lot of labor, and a lot of money. Industries which are really huge and they are in a way difficult to operate within. So these heavy industries like steel plants, there are the steel plants, because the public sector actually controlled a lot of things in the economy. So a lot of industries or a lot of places where the private industry wouldn't be able to operate, or where the private industry would falter, so those tasks were taken up by the public industry. तो जिन चीज़ों में जिन गुड्स और सर्विसेज में ऑपरेट करने की इतनी कैपेसिटी नहीं थी प्राइवेट इंडस्ट्री की, वो चीज़ें पब्लिक सेक्टर देखता था. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट that were within the domain of the public sector back then. So steel plants, oil refineries, defense production, etc. और इनका basis, इनका foundation इसी phase से शुरू हुआ था. इनका these industries were set up during this period. So they also led the foundation for a future economy, because these industries were set up back then, and so in the future nobody would have to work towards setting up these industries altogether. So this is the second point about foundation. The third was infrastructure for transportation and communication was improved, and these are the things that continue to serve us till date. These things did not end with, just that phase of the planning process. These actually, like it was meant to do, like it was supposed to do, these things benefit the future generations, our generations, and will continue to benefit these generations with proper maintenance and all for years to come. So infrastructure for transport and communication was improved, and these are transport and communications are signs of a growing, developing economy. So when these were improved, when the infrastructure for these were improved, it actually meant that the country was slowly or rapidly pacing towards improvement, towards development, and towards urbanization. The next major outcome of the planning process was the land reforms. Now, like we discussed about the land reform policies में गवर्नमेंट ने जो है, गवर्नमेंट के पास 4 ऑब्जेक्टिव्स थी, गवर्नमेंट को 4 चीजें करनी थी लैंड रिफॉर्म्स के अंदर. वन ऑफ विच वाज द अबॉलिशन ऑफ जमींदारी. जमींदारी सिस्टम हमारे कंट्री में इट वाज देयर सिंस द प्री कॉलोनियल एरा. So the first thing that the government wanted to do is abolish this system of zamindari. The second thing that the government wanted to do is consolidation of land holdings. मतलब लोगों के पास बहुत ज़्यादा fragmented land holdings थे, और वो इतने ज़्यादा fragmented थे कि इतने छोटे जमीन पर एग्रीकल्चर या फार्मिंग करना, it would be really difficult and it wouldn't really be cost effective, right? So the government wanted to consolidate these sizes of these fragmented sizes of these land holdings to make a huge acre of land, a huge portion of land, so that it's actually profitable to carry out farming activities on that big piece of land. The third thing was land ceiling, or the upper ceiling that the government intended to put on the size of land a particular person could hold. मतलब वो चाहते थे कि एक इंसान के पास एक कंसिडरेबल साइज के बियॉन्ड और इससे ज्यादा जमीन नहीं हो, क्योंकि इतनी उनको जरूरत है नहीं, और जिनको जरूरत है उनके पास उतना भी नहीं है. तो उनके पास उतना क्या, उनके पास people used to work as landless laborers back then. So the government wanted to put an upper limit on the size of land that one individual could hold, and then beyond that limit, whatever land that person holds, the government wanted to take away that land and distribute it among the poor and the landless laborers. So that was the third thing that the government wanted to put in within the land reforms. And the fourth thing was security of tenants against eviction. तो क्या होता था कि जो tenants काम करते थे ना दूसरों के जमीन पे, उन्हें विदाउट एनी प्रॉपर रीजन और विदाउट प्रायर नोटिफिकेशन उन्हें काम से निकाल दिया जाता था, एंड दैट वाज हाउ दे लॉस्ट देयर जॉब्स, एंड देन दे हैड टू start over looking for another job, for a new sort of work. So the government wanted to protect the tenants against this evil practice by giving them a security against eviction. So these 4 things were planned by the government. They wanted to do it, but let's see how these turned out. First of all, the zamindari was abolished. The system or the practice of zamindari was successfully abolished, and this helped to because zamindari was abolished and because the concept of zamindars fell away, it helped to reduce capacity of landlords to dominate politics, because they were no longer zamindars and they actually lost their position of importance. These people were no longer politically influential anymore. So, and also it helped to free the land from the clutches of people who were barely interested in agriculture. These people were interested not in farming, not in growing crops. They just owned that piece of land and they just wanted to make money out of it, and they just wanted their position of powers to remain intact, and they wanted to keep influencing politics the way they do. They did not have any particular interest in agriculture or in farming. So the zamindari system actually kept them in their positions of power, and the abolition of zamindari helped to bring down these people from their positions of political power. The second thing is consolidation of land holdings were fairly successful. तो गवर्नमेंट जो ये चाहती थी कि हम लैंड होल्डिंग्स को कंसोलिडेट कर दे ताकि वो एक बड़ा साइज बन जाए और उसमें हम एग्रीकल्चर एकदम सीमलेसली कैरी आउट कर सके. दिस थिंग वाज आल्सो प्रीटी मच डन. इट वाज आल्सो अ सक्सेसफुल मूव. These first two policies of the government were fairly successful when it came to implementation, but not the last two. गवर्नमेंट के लैंड रिफॉर्म पॉलिसीज में से दो पॉलिसीज इफेक्टिव थी हमारे कंट्री में. दो पॉलिसीज ने काम किया था, बट दो और पॉलिसीज जो थी दे वर नॉट रियली दैट इफेक्टिव. So the third policy was people with excess land managed to evade laws on land ceiling. तो गवर्नमेंट चाहती थी कि हम एक अपर लिमिट लगाए और उसके बियॉन्ड, उस लिमिट के बियॉन्ड लैंड लोगों के पास नहीं हो. But you know, the landlord and the landowners and people with huge sizes of land somehow managed to evade the law. They managed to, like we discussed this earlier, they transfer the ownership of the land towards their family members or their friends or whatever. In that way, the land would still indirectly belong to them and they would be able to operate on it, but it's no longer in their name. So they don't have to give away that land to the government. So the third policy was not successful. The fourth policy about provision of security of tenants against eviction, this was also rarely implemented. Even though tenants had the security, but the landowners kind of made it impossible to translate this law into practice on real grounds. So that is why the fourth policy was also not very successful. The first two policies actually helped to bring about land reforms, but not the later two, because the landlords and the landowning classes actually made it very difficult to implement these policies at the local level and in practice. So these are the first two major outcomes of the planning process.